All right. How about turning out that, do you have it, you don't have an overhead?
Don't have an overhead. I got a light over there.
Okay.
The light behind you.
Turn that one off, and I'm gonna turn these other two on.
Okay.
Okay.
There's no overhead in this room.
Okay.
We've got no more light, John.
Okay.
We can turn it around if you want and do it back toward that, but I just wondered if it would give you too much light
There
on
might
that
be
window.
too much up there against the window.
I
Yeah.
can pull the shears, which would cut it down a little bit. Other than that, that's it.
I'll sit here, okay?
You sit right there, it's fine. And the place you want to. I just put these over here so I need to look at dates.
Okay.
If we're gonna talk about dates, I don't know what you're gonna talk about.
What's your name?
Richard?
What's your middle name?
L. Lee, initial L, Lee's the middle name.
E-I-S.
Snaugle.
Eisnaugle. And when is your date of birth, Richard?
June the 29th, 1923.
It's today the 17th.
Of March.
Okay.
Is that gonna pick up on your camera?
It probably will.
Well, and you got your camera running?
It is running.
Well, you wanna shut it down, I'll go close these doors here, maybe that'll slow it down.
Okay. Keep that with your stuff.
What do you mean with my stuff?
100 years from now, when your descendants find that, they'll know that this tape is down at the library.
Oh,
And they'll
all
go
right.
down and you're on tape 22,
Okay.
and they'll go down and check you out.
They'll go down and check me out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In more ways than one.
Unfortunately.
Okay. Well, you've told me your name, Richard, and your date of birth. And where were you born?
In Portsmouth, Ohio.
Portsmouth, Ohio?
Mhm.
Okay. And is that house still standing?
Where I was born?
Uh-huh. Were you
Yes,
born in a
I-
hospital or in the house?
Well, I don't remember whether I was born in a hospital or a house, but the house I lived in on 19th Street is still there.
Is it? What was the address?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
And but your present address is what?
3017 Sheridan.
That's where we are right now.
Where we
isn't it?
are right now.
Okay. Now your occupation was what? You were an attorney.
Attorney at law.
Okay.
Retired now.
Okay. How much education did you have then? Of course, you had law school, but where did you go to school?
Well, I went to the Portsmouth City school system through the high school, 12th grade. Then I went to Miami University, and then from Miami University to the University of Cincinnati Law School.
That was a law school there in Cincinnati. But, I believe several other lawyers around here have gone to Cincinnati.
Oh, yes.
Haven't
Yeah,
they?
yeah.
Several,
Several of them.
yeah. Okay. Now you're married. What is your wife's name?
Jessie
Okay.
F. Hampshire was her maiden name.
Her maiden name was
Yeah.
Hampshire.
Hampshire, Hamsher. He spelled Jessie, Jessie.
Okay. And is she from Portsmouth? Where was she
No,
born?
she's from St. Paris, Ohio, Champaign County.
St. Paris? Sound like a small community.
It is. They used to call it the Pony Wagon Town.
Pony Wagon. And when did you get married?
December the 21st, 1946, I believe. 40. 45, 46.
She might be listening.
Might be
there.
45. If she is, she correct me. It's either
Okay.
45 or 46. I'm not sure that year.
Have any children?
Yes, 3 girls.
Okay. What are their names?
Well, you want their names now, their married names?
Yeah.
Well, I have Joyce Ann Newton, who resides in Tennefield, Australia.
What does she do?
What is she? She's a school teacher.
Okay.
Her husband they have a sheep ranch.
Okay. Now, how many, let's stay on her for a minute. How many children does she have?
4.
Okay. And what are their names?
Well, let's see, there's Jennifer Newton, Tyrell Newton, Daniel Newton, and Carl Newton.
Okay. And are any of them old enough to be married?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Joyce Ann is married. That's why she's in Australia.
Okay, but I mean, any of her children are old enough to be married. Do you have any great-grandchildren?
No,
Okay.
no great grandchildren.
Okay. Now you have 2 other daughters. Who's the next born?
Cheryl Lee Hemley, Hemley.
Okay.
She lives in Cleveland, Ohio, or in Chagrin Falls.
Okay.
She has 2 girls. They're too fast on that.
Okay. You didn't know that
Allison.
quiz here.
Yeah, yeah, well, I know, I can try to
Hope
think
you
of
get
the
an A
older,
here.
I'm trying to think of the older girl's name right now.
Okay. Allison is one.
Allison is the younger girl, and for the life of me, I can't.
Well, when you
recall.
remember it, just jump
Yeah, I
back.
will.
Now, what does she do?
She's a school teacher.
She's a school teacher also. And what does her husband do?
She's not married.
Okay. And then the youngest born.
Of hers?
No, your youngest born
My,
daughter.
Alice Ann Spriggs, she
Okay.
lives in Portsmouth.
Okay, she lives in
Yeah,
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth, mhm.
Okay.
She
She's nearby.
She has 3 children, Stephen, David, and Amanda.
Okay. Now, who is she married to?
Patrick Spriggs,
Patrick, yeah, I know Pat, don't I? What does he do?
he works at the atomic plant.
Okay. And now you told me your children's names. Let's go in the other direction a bit. What were your parents' names?
My father was Walter John Eisnaugle.
Okay.
My mother was Zelma May Hawk, Hawk.
Okay. Where were they from?
My father would have been, I think, from Jackson County. My mother would from up around Montgomery County.
Okay. You know, in Jackson County, I pass by it every once in a while. Is there not an Eisnaugle funeral home up there?
There's a lot of Eisnaugle. They all sort of seem to settle in Jackson County.
Okay. And now, your mother was from where?
Montgomery County, up around Dayton.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether I think it was in Dayton or whether it was a small area, but around Dayton.
Do you know her parents' names?
I could tell you if I looked up her death certificate. Harry Hawk was her father. I don't remember the mother's name without looking it up.
Okay. That is recorded, obviously, somewhere, though. You
Yeah,
have-
well, yes, the marriage license is recorded.
Now,
And
what your father's,
My father was
Parents.
George Eisnaugle and Minnie.
those are your father's parents' names?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was Minnie's maiden name?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Now let's go to the other side here, your wife's parents' names.
Well, my wife's father was John Hampshire. He was a doctor. And her mother was Alice Biddle, Biddle.
Okay. Do you know her parents, her grandparents' names?
No, I don't know their, I wouldn't be able to tell you that. She could, I couldn't.
Now, you were in the service, you were in the Navy,
Yes.
and did you, I suppose you enlisted, they didn't have a draft for the Navy, did they?
Oh, I enlisted, I was at Miami University
Okay,
in 1942,
all
and I enlisted first in the Marine Corps.
right.
And they sent us back then to Miami University as in V-12, a government-run program, supposedly an officer program.
Okay.
We were there about a year.
What did you do at Miami University? You had enlisted?
We just
in the
went
Marine?
back to school,
Went back to
and then,
classes?
of course, we stayed, they kept us all together. There were a number of us in the Marine Corps there. They had a unit, what they called a V-12 unit, and we drilled, did regular drilling that you would do if you were in a boot camp. and then also went on to school.
Okay. I don't know, what was the purpose of letting you go back to school then? So
They
you-
told us to go back to school, and when they needed us, they'd call us.
Okay. That was in 1942,
Mhm.
and you were at Miami then. Where were you when Pearl Harbor happened, December 7th?
I was at Miami University, but I don't know where, probably, maybe at the fraternity house, I don't really know.
Do you remember what kind of impact it might have had on you or anything?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna get up there, gonna go down and enlist and win the war, and get over with.
Did everybody feel that way?
Well, yes, quite a group of us went down and enlisted.
Okay. What fraternity was it?
Phi Kappa Tau.
Phi Kappa Tau?
Mhm.
Okay. And so you went to school then for how long after you enlisted? Another year?
A year, and they announced one morning at quarters that the sergeant came out and read a letter and said that if there was anybody who was interested, the Navy will give you a commission in 90 days if you want to transfer to the Navy.
Okay.
So I was ready to transfer to the Navy because I thought we were just spinning our wheels there at Miami. We were going to school. We thought we were going to enlist, and we thought we were going to be in service, in the fighting end of it, but we
A
weren't.
real service.
So I joined the Navy. I stepped out and moved to go to the Navy, and they sent me to Northwestern
Okay.
in Chicago.
Northwestern, did you take courses there, or what happened there?
No, we took a pre-midshipman, we took a midshipman courses. And at the end of 90 days, we got a commission as an ensign.
Okay. Then what happened to you?
Well, then they wrote me orders to sign me to a ship. My first ship, they sent me to the East Coast, but when I got there, to Norfolk, I believe it was, got to Norfolk, the ship was on the West Coast. So,
Let me get this straight. They sent you to the East Coast to join your
to
ship,
join the ship,
and when you got there, it wasn't there.
it was on the West
It was
Coast.
on the West Coast.
So they immediately wrote orders to us and sent us to the West Coast. When it was the ship we went to was in the process of being built.
Oh, I see.
It was just finishing it up. We were down there and we commissioned the ship.
What do you mean we? I mean, was there a
Well,
group of you?
Yeah, there were several of us who went from not from Miami, but from various programs now.
When they sent you to the East Coast, where did they send you?
Norfolk,
Norfolk. Okay. And then where did they send you when they sent you to the
San
West?
Diego.
How did you get there? Train?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Played cards all the way out.
How long did that take?
Oh, I don't know.
Like a
To
week
me,
or
it was no. That took, I don't really know.
Okay.
I guess we were on there about a day and a night, maybe 2 days.
Oh, okay. Were you able to get some liberty or some, what do you call it, leave in the Navy and before you went to the West Coast to come home or anything? Do you remember?
You mean, are you talking about when I was discharged from the ship?
No. You're at Northwestern and they're going to send you to the East Coast.
Well, I'm a Northwestern and I get a commission
Uh-huh.
as an ensign in the Navy. And then they sent me down, the Navy writes me orders to go to Norfolk.
Okay.
Yes, I came home.
That's all right.
I had a short, I think it was a short stay. I came home, yeah. I was
Okay.
able to come home between that time. Then I had some, what they call delay.
Oh, yeah.
And then after that, we went to Norfolk. I went to Norfolk. Then from Norfolk, I went to San Diego.
This was in San Diego where you would finally meet up with your ship.
Yeah.
What kind of ship?
Destroyer escort, what they call a DE,
Okay, and what was the name of it?
McClellan, USS McClellan.
McClellan, like the Union General, was that named after?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And it was named for a young man who was killed in the Navy at one point in time, and it was named after him.
Okay. Then you joined up with your ship and it's newly built. What happened there? What happened then?
Well, then we commissioned the ship. We put it in commission, finished it up, and when I got there, it was just about finished. I suppose it was another couple of months or so, maybe longer, getting the ship outfitted and ready to go to sea. Then we went out on trial runs, and when it was ready to be used in the service, by then we went to Pearl Harbor,
What do you do on trial runs?
where you test the equipment on your ship to
This
see
is-
if it's all in working order.
The trial run is actually like the maiden voyage, is that what you call it? I mean, you go out and you try things out.
You try it out. We lost our sonar head. Must have hit a fish of some sort or a whale. We don't know which it was. We lost the sonar head and had to come back and have a new one put on.
Oh, I see.
But other than that, then we left and went to Pearl Harbor.
What did you do?
I was in what they call CIC, Communications.
Uh-huh.
radar.
Okay. And what was your duties there? What were your duties?
Well, our duties are to, well, we ran the radar to look for other ships so we don't run into somebody. And we could actually, we steer by the ship, we steer by radar. In other words, when you look at a radar screen, you see your ship and then you have degrees on there and you can tell the captain what direction. If he wants to go in a certain direction, you can tell him whether he's going in that direction or not.
Where were you trained for that? At Northwestern?
No, I was trained for that on the ship.
Was this a on-the-job training?
Oh, yeah. On-the-job training.
First they sent you to the East Coast and the ship isn't there, and then they give you a job that you're not trained for.
Trained for. Well, I guess it isn't that difficult. It wasn't that difficult.
Okay. Now, being on a destroyer, it's a small, fast ship, isn't it?
Well, destroyer escorts are not as fast as a destroyer.
Oh, okay.
A destroyer is bigger and faster, has better armament, but the destroyer escort is smaller. They're strictly what they say they are. They're escort ships. They screen and take convoys.
Okay.
In other words, if you've seen pictures of the troop ships that have 3 or 4 troop ships in a group, and you'll have a destroyer escorts will be out on the perimeter, and we have sonar, and we had depth bombs and that sort of thing for submarines.
Okay.
We had anti-aircraft guns, but they're not the biggest ones like a destroyer.
Okay. Now, did you go to Pearl Harbor then alone, or did you go with a convoy or other ships?
No, we went with a convoy to Pearl Harbor.
And then what happened? What did you do?
Well, then we took that same group
What group?
down. Well, these were Marines.
Were they Marines?
They were Marines. See, this was early in the invasions of the islands in the Pacific. And we took the Marines down to an island called Espiritu Santo, which was down close to Australia. And there they did some landings, practicing their landings.
Oh, it was not an enemy, it was not a
No, this was not an enemy territory there. Then when we got through there, then we took them in a convoy up to, the first one was Iwo Jima, which
Well, you
was
took
an island
them
called
to
Iwo Jima.
For you?
And we screened them up to that. When we got up to Iwo Jima, well, they landed, then there was combat.
Yes. Okay.
And
Did you?
one of the things I always tell people about on that is that this group of Marines, the officers that we took up there, some of them were the same officers that were with me at B-12 in Miami.
Oh, okay. So you got to Iwo Jima another way. You got to the Navy way.
Up in the Navy, and a lot of those boys never came back.
Yeah.
That invasion, they lost an awful lot of officers, Marine officers.
Well, at Iwo Jima, did your ship see any combat? Did they?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We did what they call radar picket. So they would send us out, maybe 50 miles, 75 miles from the island, and we had what we called a picket line, and we would row back and forth on that line, and our duty was to notify them if there was any enemy aircraft were coming through, and they were bound. Now, they usually tried to hit us first. And
Okay.
it wasn't a very pleasant place to be, although we were fortunate, we never got hit. But we shot down a number of planes, and then we
Did you?
also sent in information about the incoming, how many aircraft we could see and that sort of thing.
Looks like your ship would be exposed to submarines too.
Well,
Was there-
submarines probably wouldn't have bothered it, they didn't
Okay.
bother us, we didn't have any trouble with submarines.
Okay. So you were on your picket duty, you'd be about 75 miles out from
But
the island?
from the island, and
And
there'd
you'd
be
part of
other,
that screening that.
yeah, it's sort of, there'd be others, there'd be another one, there'd be another maybe destroyer or destroyer escort station, on around the island, all the way around, so that there was somebody to warn them of incoming aircraft, and if any ships tried to come through.
But you were part of, or were you, or maybe you would see, the initial bombardment of the island? Of Iwo Jima?
Oh yeah, we did some of it ourselves. They sent us in one evening to do some shore bombardment into the harbor. We went into the harbor and at Iwo Jima and fired into the Japanese most of them were in caves in those islands. And about all you could do would be to go in and sort of point your gun at one of those caves and fire at them, and that's what we did.
Did you ever see the flag? Did you see the flag raising?
No.
Okay. But Mount Suribachi was very
Yeah.
clear and,
Oh, yeah.
and the whole business there
Yeah.
at that time. Okay. How long did that last for you, duty at Iwo Jima?
Oh, let's see, I don't know that I really know. I never kept any record, but I would say probably, maybe a month
Okay,
we were there.
okay. When you went in, you were an ensign,
Yes,
right?
when I
And,
got commissioned, it was commissioned and ensign.
Okay. And when you were discharged, what was your rank?
Commander.
When were you discharged?
Now you're talking about.
The date of your discharge?
Well, now, really have two discharges. I have a discharge from the Navy in 1946,
Oh, okay,
and at that time I went back to school.
okay.
And then I have a discharge from the Naval Reserve. See, I stayed in the Naval Reserve for the required 20-some years to get your retirement.
Okay. So your date of discharge from active naval service would have been in 1946. Do you remember that date there?
Well, yeah, it'd be July 21st, 1946.
Then when were you discharged from the reserves?
July.
June 29th?
June 29th, 1983.
Okay. And you were commander upon this final discharge?
Yes.
Okay. Was your reserve station down here?
Yes.
At Fort Smith?
We were Surface Division 4107.
Okay.
We're down there on Charles Street.
Now after Iwo Jima, where did you go? Where did you sail?
Well, I was sent off back to Pearl Harbor to go to what they called fighter direction school. And
You left the ship, in other words?
Oh yes, I left the ship. And what that was for was in order to, some of us were sent back there as CIC officers from different ships. Went to school to learn how to direct aircraft, fighter direction. In other words, with our radar, we pick up an aircraft, let's say we pick up an aircraft out to 200 or 300 miles, and we would then direct our aircraft to where they are. In other words, that's what they called fighter direction.
Okay. Now, Iwo Jima would have been in 1945, wouldn't it? And
45, yeah.
And then after that, the big one was Okinawa.
Okinawa, down.
Did you go there?
Yes, I went back to my ship.
The same ship?
Same
McClellan?
ship, same ship to McClellan, and then we went up to Okinawa.
Okay.
And we did basically the same thing. We screened a group of ships up to Okinawa. Then we went out, they put us out on radar picket in Okinawa.
Did you also engage in the shore battery at Okinawa?
A short time,
Shelling?
not much. See, the DE doesn't have that big, it has what they call the 3-inch 58, which as opposed to a much larger gun on the destroyer. We weren't really that big in the way of the main battery. So they didn't use the DEs much for that. They sent us out on radar picking, and that's when we got into the kamikazes, you may
I was
remember.
going to ask you that. There was
Yeah.
a fury of that.
Oh, yeah, at Okinawa, we had a lot of that.
Okay. But did you get hit then?
No,
or
we didn't
anything?
get hit. We shot down several planes, but we didn't get hit. We were fortunate.
Okay. Now, being out on picket, of course, are you alone, or can you have visual
No, we're
sighting of
alone.
other ships?
No, we're alone. We don't see any other ships. You have radio communication,
Right.
and radar communication, but we don't have any other.
So the other ships
You
in
don't see
this picket screen are over the horizon
Yeah.
from you? Okay. Did you stay on the McClellan the whole time
Yeah.
of your naval service? Okay.
Well, see, after Okinawa, then I was sent back again to Pearl Harbor for an advanced school on this fighter, getting ready for an invasion of Japan. You may remember, that's when we were getting ready to make that invasion of Japan, and before the dropping of the bomb, they were getting ready. And, but fortunately, the war ended while I was still at Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And,
But Okinawa was a furious battle.
Oh, yes.
and,
Yes, it was.
How long were you there?
probably about the same time, maybe a month and a half, I think.
Then you went back to Pearl Harbor. There's more training.
Yeah, war training. Then when the war ended while I was at Pearl Harbor, so then they sent me to Japan
I wanted to ask you.
to pick up my ship.
Okay.
Because when the war was ended, then the ship, of course, went into went to the seaport of Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And,
Well, that's where the.
but I got there before the ship got there.
Oh, I see. Is that somebody?
No, that's the computer.
Okay.
And
Not-
they,
Okay. Does that mean you have an email?
No, I mean, somebody just came online.
Oh, okay.
They, I did just general duties there, waiting for my ship to come in. And like
At
SP
Nagasaki?
duty.
You met your ship at Nagasaki? Okay. Well, that would have been interesting to be at that place. I mean, that was the second bomb.
Well, yeah, it was,
What
I
kind-
don't know if it's so interesting or not.
Well, what
We
can you
didn't,
tell me about it?
we didn't stay at Nagasaki too long. They moved us on down to what they called Osaka, which was a smaller seaport just because of what you said, that's when the second bomb was dropped. They didn't keep personnel around there too long.
Okay.
Wasn't particularly, the natives weren't that happy with us, and we weren't looking for trouble, so we left there, and they shipped most of the personnel down to smaller ports until they picked up their ship. Actually, I picked up the ship at Osaka rather than at Nagasaki.
I guess I know what you're going to say, but what did Nagasaki look like? Nothing was there, or what?
No, just a small, no, it was a
I mean-
small Japanese,
The bomb was very devastating.
yeah, you're talking about Nagasaki. now.
Nagasaki, yes.
Well, I didn't go into, when I say Nagasaki, we didn't go into the area where the
Oh, okay.
bomb had actually been dropped.
Like you say, they're
Because
not
they
too
probably
friendly.
we just didn't go in there, they didn't send us in there, we stayed away from there.
Okay. Osaka is a port.
It's just a little seaport.
Okay, that's where you met your ship.
Yeah, I met the ship, and we came back to San Diego.
How long were you in Japan?
Oh, I don't know, probably a couple of weeks, maybe 3.
How did you find the Japanese to be
Oh, I felt them, they were very, didn't bother me. I didn't have any trouble with them.
passive?
Of course, I didn't see them too much. I was doing mostly, we stayed around where the naval personnel was. I did what they called shore duty.
Mhm.
I don't know whether, for the purpose of the camera, I did shore duty at the houses of prostitution, so they stay in line.
Okay.
The boys got a little hard up, I guess.
They would be a little rowdy.
Well, you know,
What do young sailors do when
what
they have
do they do?
liberty?
When they have liberty, that's right. So you have to keep the line straight.
Okay. Do you mean that literally, keep the line straight? I mean,
Oh,
there'd be
yeah.
a line of
Oh, yeah.
sailors
Oh,
that
yeah.
you have to,
They
so
weren't,
they wouldn't mob.
you don't want to get the impression that they were all just sailors. Some of them were officers too,
Of
were
course.
in the line.
In the line,
In the
stay in line.
Stay in line.
And an officer would
And
not.
you didn't want to have any trouble, so you kept trouble down.
Well, that must have been interesting duty, but then you would catch your ship, you got your ship and went back to Pearl Harbor.
Yep. Well, we went to Pearl Harbor, then back to San Diego. We didn't stay in Pearl Harbor, we just went, just the way you went back.
You didn't see anything of the surrender, did you? You were in Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, I saw I was on what was the battleship? I can't keep.
Well, the Missouri was the
Missouri.
battleship
All right,
that.
the one that they signed up, I wasn't involved in any of that. I just bystander like everybody else.
Were you actually on the ship at the
Yeah,
time?
I was on the ship, but that's
You were
all.
actually on the Missouri
Yeah.
when the
Just
surrender,
as a guest and as a.
when the
you know,
surrender of the Japanese took place. I've seen these films, everybody's seen these films where the Japanese delegation comes on board. You've got this guy with the big hat, the tall black hat. You've got a couple of the Japanese that are in uniform. Did you see that?
I can't really remember, John, whether I did or not. There's so much activity around at that time.
When you were on the Missouri,
I
at the time of the
probably did.
Okay, at the time of the surrender, where were you? What was your
I was
perch?
way up on in the CIC area, up in the communications area, way, pretty far back.
Okay.
They did that on the fantail, what they call a fantail. They did the signing down where they have the room, where you have an open area on the stern of the battleship, and that's pretty far away.
Okay.
Battleship's pretty good size.
Yeah.
And, it's like sitting here and watching them sign something over there across the street.
Okay. Did you see MacArthur?
No. Well, you say, I say no, but I probably did, and just don't. At that time, there was too much excitement, I guess. Everybody's, oh, look, and who knows what they're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, who knows? During all of your naval active duty career, did you see any of these big shots like Halsey or King?
No,
Any of those
we did a screening job for I believe it was Halsey's, what they called his Fast Task Force, it was called Fast Task Force 58. And we did he had his supply train, which was the ships that carried his fuel and food and that sort of thing. And we were screening his container ships. We couldn't keep up with with these task forces. The destroyers did that.
Okay. Container ship would be like a supply train,
Well,
so to speak.
they got had their fuel and their ammunition and all that sort of stuff was carried in. And then we followed their fast carrier task force. We didn't get in, we weren't up in the fighting area with them. They were they may be way down the ocean, fighting. In the meantime, we just screened the people who were gonna supply.
After you got back to Pearl Harbor from Japan, did you ever have an occasion to go back to Japan, or that was it for your
No,
Japanese duty?
I never went back to Japan.
Have you ever been to Japan since
No,
the war?
No, not since the war.
Okay. Have you ever been to Pearl Harbor since?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
number of times.
Have you- Are there things there that are still preserved that you can remember?
Well, of course, the destruction at the harbor is there, as you may well know. You've seen pictures of that, I'm sure. The Royal Hawaiian Hotel is still there, and that's where I stayed. There's not much change. There's not much change. Then of course, you got the cemetery up on the mountain there. I forget the name of the mountain, but anyway, there's a big cemetery where they buried a lot of people who were killed during the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Then after Pearl Harbor, the war's over now, you're back from Japan at Pearl Harbor. What happened to you?
We went back to San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah.
And this is the period of time, did you go back on the McClellan?
Oh, yes.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Who was your captain?
Uh,
He didn't make a bit of a good
Well,
impression.
he did make it, McClendon.
McClendon? McClellan, okay.
Yeah, McClendon was his
Okay.
name.
Okay.
I don't remember his first name, though. Well, one of the reasons, John, I don't remember Captain McClendon too well, is I wanted to go to law school. And I wanted to go to college, and I wanted the Navy to pay for it. And I had made the application to the various things, but he was too much interested in getting out. See, everybody was interested in getting out, remember, in 1945 and 46, they wanted to go home. Me, I wanted them to send me back to college, pay for my college, and send me to law school, because I knew they wouldn't, and I would have stayed in the Navy. But Captain McClendon, he wasn't too much interested in that, and I don't think he really worked very hard to help me get it, and consequently, I didn't.
You did not?
I did not I didn't get an assignment from the Navy to go back to school at their expense.
I see.
But I got the GI Bill and that sort of thing. I'm talking about where they would send you regularly under, I would have stayed in the Navy, I would have been a naval officer going to school. But they didn't see fit to do that, so
Does your ship ever have reunions?
no, the ship's never had one. I've looked in all the publications and I've never been one. We weren't a very close-knit group of people.
That's odd. I think,
Yeah, yes, it is. I've stayed in touch with one fellow, young man, Italian boy, who from Sacramento, California.
Is he an officer?
Yes, he was an ensign. Came on there about the same time I did. John Ciccarelli. And he and I have the Christmas card business, that sort of thing.
Have you visited him a few times?
No.
Okay.
No, I never visited.
That's interesting.
It wasn't a close-knit group, really.
Now, you get to San Diego, and your ship pulls in, and what do you do then?
Well, we just awaited orders to decommission the ship. That was our main next duty, was to get the ship decommissioned and discharge the people who were on board. So they sent us around through the canal over to Florida.
Oh, okay.
Green Cove Springs, Florida. The St. Johns River, Florida.
Yes, okay, that's near Vero Beach area?
I'm not a very good person on Florida, but it's Jacksonville.
Oh, okay, it's not
Jacksonville
Vero Beach then, okay.
Was would be the sea area, I guess. But we were sent up the St. Johns River to this small little village of Green Cove Springs.
Okay.
And it wouldn't have been any bigger than Lucasville if it was that big. And the river was particularly wide there, the St. Johns River, and they had hundreds, literally hundreds of these DEs, small ships that were being put out of commission, what they called mothballing. And what that entailed was, what you did is you cleaned everything, and then you mothballed it. They had well, you've seen this stuff if you put on a meat package, you can stretch it, and then it comes real tight with a little heat. Well, you did about the same thing.
Okay.
To preserve that ship so that it could be used if you ever wanted to use it again. All you had to do was de-mothball it, and it was ready to go.
Is that what happened to your ship?
That's what happened to that ship.
What eventually happened to that ship?
You know, it was eventually taken out of mothballs and sent up to, I think, Norfolk, and assigned to a Naval Reserve unit as a training ship.
Oh, I see.
Now, what's the final hearing? It's probably went to Gillette.
The razor blades.
Razor blades, I don't know.
Okay. So you're there at what was it?
Green Cove Springs.
Green Cove Springs, okay. And this ship is decommissioned and mothballed there. Okay. Where does that leave you?
Leaves me as the last officer to leave the ship.
You turn the lights out?
Turn the lights out. And get on.
How do you feel when you leave your ship there? Was there some sense of,
well, you know, I guess I was like everybody else. Since I wasn't going to be going to school with the Navy, I was anxious to get home. And I was married at that time. I wanted to get back to my wife, so we just went back to.
What was the year that you got married?
1945 or 46.
45.
I got a marriage license around here someplace, but I think it's 45.
Where did you meet your wife?
At Miami,
At
Miami University.
She was going to Miami, that's why. So you must have stayed in contact with her while you were in the Pacific.
Oh, yes. I had a couple of my mushy love letters read over the loudspeaker on mail. Sometimes letters would get read.
Accidentally were opened and
I
read.
suppose, but, you know, they liked it. That was a thing they liked to do. If it wasn't anything, you know, if it wasn't anything military in it, that some of these jokers, you know, would get on the loudspeaker system or on a radio system. And Ensign Eisnaugle, you have a letter from Jesse, Hampshire, you know.
It's too far to bring it to you, but she said.
Yeah, but she says. That sort of thing.
Well, did you, while you were on your ship, did you cross the equator? You had
Yes, cross the equator.
Did you do that business with King Neptune?
Oh, yes. I've got pictures of that. Yes.
That was, the idea of that is, I guess, to humiliate you as much as possible.
As much as possible. They do anyway, whether that's the idea or not. That's what they do.
Now, you get off, you turn the lights off, you're Green Cove City. Get on the train, come home?
Yep.
Is that, what was that like getting off the train? Where did you get off the train? Down here?
Yeah, my wife met me across the river at South Shore.
Oh, South Shore. Okay. I thought not the station, the depot down there.
No. For some reason, all of my travels on train were always across the river.
Maybe was that depot there at the time? Maybe?
Yeah, it was there.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was.
You did the South Shore trip.
I did the South Shore trip.
Okay. Did you like the Navy?
Oh, yeah.
Did you? You
Well,
wanted to
must
stay
have liked
in?
it. I stayed in.
Did you have any souvenirs left over from your active duty service?
Oh, I don't know of any, John.
Did you bring anything back from Japan?
No, of course, with the early group, like I was, and they wouldn't let us keep anything.
Okay.
In fact, the Marines, when they would come back off of, say, a weekend of liberty in, let's say, in Osaka, they'd come back they'd have swords, and they'd have this, and they'd have that, and we had to take it away from them.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was that part of your job?
Part of the job as shore patrol.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't allowed to keep anything.
Were they
Now,
pretty
later
upset?
on, it changed, that changed, I know.
So some of them were allowed to keep the...
Oh, well, I mean, afterwards you got to just bring anything they wanted to, I know, because I saw guys, when you come back to the States, you don't have this stuff.
Uh-huh. Okay. Somebody told me, and see if this is also your recollection, that the troops who garrisoned Japan were all green troops. They had never seen combat. Do you know about that?
I don't know about that.
And I'll tell you why that person told me that. He says that the ones who had seen combat were so furious at Japanese and angry, and they were combat hardened and they'd seen a lot of stuff. The feeling was that if they also had to garrison Japan, that it might be very, very difficult.
Well, I wouldn't argue with that,
That might be
because
the
I
theory.
can imagine if you took an officer or an enlisted person who had been on any of the island hoppings that we did, the Okinawa, Iwo Jima, the Marshalls, or any of those islands that we took back, they're gonna be pretty angry, because those were tough invasions. I mean, we lost a lot of boys.
Did you deal mostly with the Marines then, or were there Army troops too that you come?
I didn't have anything to do with the Army. In fact, I don't even know that I saw any Army troops.
There was an Army division over there made up mostly of Ohio. It was the 37th
Is
Division.
that right? I wasn't aware of that.
They were in like Bougainville. down in-
Oh, okay, well, in the
places
southern
like that,
islands,
yeah.
and they were coming up. Yeah, oh, yes, those were-
Do you have any decorations or anything from the war?
well, I have what you saw on the wall.
Well, let's
there.
get that in here. Why don't you go ahead and get it, if you can.
Yeah, I
if you
can
want
get
to.
it, it's just up on the wall.
Put up there and,
Okay,
let's try it with the light this time. Turn on that light and we'll see what happens.
does that help you?
I don't know. Let's see here now. Tilt it up and back a little bit.
This way?
Uh-huh. Now come the other way on it. Okay, now, what are those ribbons there?
Those are the ribbons that you were authorized to wear as a result of your tour of duty.
Uh-huh, okay. And then the medals are the compatible
Well,
metal to
yeah, the
that
medals
ribbon.
are compatible with the ribbons.
Okay,
The ribbons, you notice on the one ribbon, which is the Asiatic Pacific, has 3 stars. That means there was 3 invasions, or 3 actions. That would
Okay.
be Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and Japan.
okay. There's another one up there with a star on it. What is that?
That's a good conduct.
No, that's not yours. It's somebody else's, isn't it? Good conduct? You got the good
No,
conduct?
I got a good conduct with the star. I mean, I had the second tour. probably
Exceptionally good conduct.
exceptionally good conduct, yeah.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen any paperwork on it though. Okay, great, thanks. What else you got down there? You got you got a picture of your ship?
No.
Okay.
I do, but all of that stuff's been put away, John.
Personal photographs of that sort of thing of your ship? Okay,
Yeah,
very good.
I don't have any available for you today.
Okay. You say you like, is there anything else you want to tell me about it? You got any tattoos you want to talk about?
No tattoos. I've got,
You're a Navy man without a tattoo?
yeah, no tattoos. When I got back, I don't know whether you want to go into that, but when I got back from the service, of course, I went back to Miami,
Mm-hmm,
where I graduated from there in 1947.
mm-hmm,
And then I left there and went to the UC Law School
okay,
and graduated from there in 1950.
all right.
Then in 1950, I came back to Portsmouth to practice law and then joined the Naval Reserve Unit here.
Yeah, I meant to ask you, in 50, then we had a little thing in Korea. Did that affect you any?
No,
They
no, I
didn't
was.
activate you?
No, they didn't activate me. I was then I was the commanding officer for this surface unit down here, probably, well, I suppose 10, 12 years.
Oh.
And at the same time, I was the commandant's representative. Now, the commandant was the admiral who was in charge of the naval district. We were in the 4th Naval District, which included Cleveland, which was Ohio, Indiana, and Pennsylvania, and I don't know how many more states. And I was his representative here,
Okay.
which meant that if there was some sort of a naval function, I would have to go and represent
Put on
the
your
commandant.
whites
Yeah,
and-
put on my whites or my khakis and go represent the commandant.
Okay.
And that's what I did for the next number of years until I retired. And,
Okay. And you retired in 83, I think you said, or what
Yep.
year was it that you got out of?
I think it was 83, wasn't it? Yep, 83.
All right. I guess is there anything else you'd like to say, Richard?
No,
Talk about it. Have we covered the waterfront pretty well?
I'd say we have. I don't know of anything else.
Tell me a story about something that happened to you in the Navy.
Well, I don't know, let's see. There was one time at Okinawa, when we were out on radar picket, we had a torpedo bomber, Japanese torpedo ship was coming, her plane was coming in at us low on the water. And what we used to do with those types of planes, we had what we called an anti-personnel shell that would go off within proximity. In other words, if you shoot the shell out, you had a certain time period, and then it would explode with whatever was near. And on this one occasion, we were having a pretty hard time. We thought this guy was going to get to us, but we kept firing at him. And finally, one of the shells exploded right in front of him. And of course, when that happened, just like hitting a brick wall. That was the end of the jab. I mean,
everything disintegrated.
Oh yeah, it hit that water just like hitting see, it just throws up a big, huge geyser of water, and when he hit that, that was all there was to that.
That was a close call.
But we had a supply officer who, a young fellow named Baloo, and his general quarters station was, of course, in the midships, right in the middle, where his supply department was. And he had a door that he could open on either side of the ship. In other words, you could go out on the starboard side, or you could go out on the port side just by walking through. Well, he looks out and he sees this airplane coming low across the water. Slams the door shut, and he doesn't realize that at the same time the captain is, of course, taking maneuvers to stay away from this airplane if he can. But he runs to the other side and opens that door, and by that time the ship had come around, and here's the airplane still over here.
Okay. Then what happened to him when he shut that door?
He shut that door. I don't know where he went.
Or maybe he thought there were two coming out, one from each
No,
direction.
well, there was only one, but eventually we got that guy. But that was one of the funnier things. And the only other thing that I can remember is a story on myself. This John Ciccarelli and I were in San Diego, and there was a bar there that you faced a window like you're looking at our window there, but it had an awning. And they ran water off that awning. It looked like it was raining. And you could sit at the bar and you looked out the window and it was raining. We were there one afternoon for a while, and finally we said, well, when it stops raining, we're going to do this and that. So you can imagine, we spent a little while there.
And of course you couldn't just sit there. You
Oh,
had
no,
to
no. Had Coca-Cola or
Oh,
something,
no, all right. Okay, well, thanks a lot. I appreciate everything you did.
It's all right, huh?
Okay, there was one more thing though I wanted to ask you about.
What's that?
This is, what is this whistle?
It's a Bosun's whistle.
Is this it right here?
Yep.
Okay. I'll bring it over there.
That's all right.
Now this is, the chain, of course, is something you wear around your neck.
He wears it around his neck,
And
he blows.
What's the purpose of that?
The purpose of this, no matter, it's a signal type thing. He blows and
Okay.
3 or 4 of those mean something. I
Okay.
never learned the thing, but he would pipe what they called piping somebody aboard. You
Oh,
heard
yeah,
that?
that's what that is.
That's what they would use to pipe.
Okay. Well, now, is that an antique whistle there, or is that?
Well, it's an original Navy Bosun's
Okay.
whistle. That's all I can
How
tell you.
long have you had that?
Oh, I've had that ever.
Long time?
I think I got that from a Bosun early in the game.
Oh,
Probably
okay.
since sometime in the 40s I've had it.
So this comes from the 1940s, then?
Mhm.
Okay. And is there any writing on it?
No,
like
there's no
USB
writing
or
on it.
anything?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay. Interesting. I wonder if there are people out there that collect these.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I really don't know.
Well, I'm done.
You're done.
Mhm.
I'm done. Okay, we're done.